My YouTube channel, The Bible with Tina, is 6 years old today. I created it on the 10th of June 2018, and this is the very first video I uploaded on the same day. Enjoy. So we're looking at the book of Ruth. Now Ruth, it was set in the time of the Judges, when the Judges ruled Israel. This was before the kings. So the Israelites had judges at the time. So during this time, there was a famine in the land of Israel. In the Old Testament, when we see that there's a famine, it typically means that the Israelites had sinned. So God had withheld the rain, and so there was no food, no crop, nothing to eat. So that's normally in the Old Testament times, when there's a famine, it's a punishment because of one thing or the other that the Israelites had done. So there was a famine in the land, in a place called Bethlehem, Judah. So there was this family, Elimelech the husband, Naomi the wife, and they had two children, two boys, Mahlon and Chilion. So Elimelech decided that because there was a famine, they should move to the land of Moab to go for food, instead of staying in Israel, in Bethlehem, Judah, to die of starvation. Why he chose Moab, the Bible does not tell us. But if you remember, Moab is a son of Lot. You know, when God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, and there was no men left, Lot's daughters seduced their dad. They made him get drunk, and they slept with their dad, and they had children by him. So one of the sons from one of the daughters is Moab. So the land of Moab, he is the founder, the founding father of Moab. Moab is a place where Israel and Moab, they don't really get on together. Israel serves the one true God, Yahweh. Moab serves a god called Chemosh. The people of Moab sacrifice their children to Chemosh. So they get their babies and they put the babies in front of this idol called Chemosh, that's their god, and they kill the baby, and the parents of the baby feel it's an honor that they sacrifice their child to Chemosh. And even a grown-up person, if they say you have been chosen as a sacrifice to Chemosh, they find it as a honor. It's a privilege. It means they're going to live forever in the world beyond, that they have been selected, they have been chosen to be sacrificed before their god Chemosh. So Israel and Moab have nothing in common. But for some reason, the Bible doesn't tell us why, Elimelech chooses to take his family to the land of Moab. So they go. They wave goodbye to their friends, their family, their relatives, and they go off to Moab. It's better to go to this heathen land where they serve idol instead of staying in Israel and dying of hunger. So they get to Moab. Shortly afterwards, we don't know how long, Elimelech dies. So when he dies, Naomi is now a widow, but she's got her two sons. In those days in the Middle East, when a woman becomes a widow, it's really, really hard, it's tough for her. She needs her family around her to support her. If she doesn't have any family, she has to go into prostitution to fend for herself, which is why God also made that law that you should look after the widows, look after the orphans, look after them. Otherwise, they are in really dire straits. She has her sons, and then they get married to Moabite women, Ruth and Orpah. So Mahlon gets married to Ruth, Chilion gets married to Orpah. After about 10 years, we don't know when this 10 years was counted from, the two sons died. Naomi is now left alone. She doesn't have a husband, and she doesn't have her sons. She has heard that God has shown favor to her people back in Bethlehem, Judah. There's now rain, there's now food in abundance, there's now harvest. So she tells her daughter-in-laws that she's going to go back home. There's nothing keeping her here anymore. She has lost her husband and she has lost her two sons. she's going back. Which reminds me, some years ago here in London, I was looking on the internet for the news, but I couldn't find it because it was a local reporting, local newspaper. A Nigerian woman living here with her family, her husband, 2 kids also, similar to Naomi's situation. There was a fire in the night. So when that fire happened, the 2 kids died. They managed to get the woman out. The husband, because he was struggling so hard to get the kids, he inhaled a lot of smoke. So he was in a really bad shape. They were all taken to hospital. The woman, because she was a bit okay, she kept on leaving her bed, going to her husband's bed in the hospital and talking to him in Yoruba, the Yoruba couple. Please don't leave me, don't go. The kids have gone. You're the only one I have left. Don't go. This man died. So the woman was left alone. So the paper reported that she was in a really bad state. Her church had to all contribute for her and send her back to Nigeria because she wasn't just in a bad state. I think she was going crazy because everything was taken from her. So in a similar situation to Naomi, this woman, this Nigerian woman, was here full, husband, kids. She's now going back to Nigeria empty. Nothing, no husband, no kids. Of course, I couldn't trace the story. I don't know what happened. Maybe in Nigeria she got another husband, got another family now. Maybe she doesn't have anyone. I don't know. But it reminded me of that woman. So Naomi decides she's going back home. Nothing is keeping her in the land of Moab. Her 2 daughters-in-law, Ruth and Orpah, decide to go with her. So we don't know how far down the journey she suddenly stops. Naomi stops and says, no, you have to go back home. Go to your families, go back to your mothers. God will provide you with other husbands. Make a new life for yourself. Go back to your gods. You can't come with me. They cry, they hold on to her, they say, no, we're coming with you. He says, you can't come with me, I'm old. I don't have any more babies I can give you. Even if by chance of a miracle, today, when we get back, I get a husband and I have a baby today, are you going to wait for those babies to grow up and become men and marry you? No, you can't do that. Go back to your families. Orpah kisses her mother-in-law and goes back. But Ruth clings on to her and says, I'm not going back. I'm going with you. Naomi says, you can't do that. See your sister-in-law. Go with her. Ruth insists, your people are now my people. Where you go, there I will go. Your God is now my God. And when you die, there also I will be buried. I am not going back. When Naomi sees that Ruth is serious, she's not going to go back, they decide to go together. Which in a way might be a bit of a relief for Naomi, because it's about 2-3 days journey, and for an old woman to make this journey alone would be quite dangerous. Anything can happen to her. So she must have been a bit relieved that at least she'll have company along the way. So they go and they get to Bethlehem, Judah. The people see 2 people coming from afar, and they look and they say, is that Naomi? Is that Naomi? Is that really Naomi? Naomi must have looked so different. She must have looked so haggard because of what she's been through. Her king's people asking, is that Naomi? And she says, don't call me Naomi. Because Naomi means pleasant, something sweet, something delicious. Don't call me Naomi. Call me Mara. Mara means bitterness. See what God has done to me. See how he has afflicted me. Taking my husband and my children. Don't call me Naomi. Call me Mara. From today, call me Mara. That is my new name. So they settled back in Bethlehem, Judah. Then Naomi, Ruth now asks her mother-in-law, it's the time of the harvest. Can I go and glean some wheat for us to eat? You remember in Deuteronomy, God tells the Israelites that when you are doing your harvesting, leave some for the poor, for the foreigners. So when they are harvesting their stock, if anything falls to the side, they are not allowed to take it, they have to leave it. So Ruth must have known this law. She says, let me go behind them, so that when they are gleaning the harvest, I can get food for us to eat, so that we don't die of starvation. Naomi says, go. So she goes. She's going from field to field. Eventually she ends up in the field of Boaz. So she's there. And at that moment, Boaz comes to say hello to his workers, his laborers. He's greeting them, God bless you, how's everything? And then he spots this woman that he's not seen before, and he asks his foreman, who is that woman? He says, well, that is Ruth. She came with Naomi. You know, and he said, oh yeah, I remember. So he goes up to her and he says, I've heard what you have done for our kinswoman. Don't go to another field. Stay here until the harvest is over. Take all your harvest, your gleanings from here. You don't need to go anywhere else. She kneels down, she bows her head to the floor. Why are you being so nice to me? I'm a foreigner. Why are you being so good to me? He says, we heard all what you did, how you left your family behind, how you followed Naomi here, how you've been such a support to her. Without you, we don't know what she would have done. You just stay here. Whatever you need, in that gallon there, my servants, they put water in. When you're thirsty, go and get some water and drink. When it's lunchtime, stop working. Join my workers, eat. You just stay until the end. She says, okay. She starts harvesting. It's time to eat. Boaz is about to eat. Boaz calls her, come and sit down and eat, gives her bread, says dip it in the wine. She eats, she's full, gives her roasted corn. She eats, she takes the rest, she keeps it, and then she finishes that day. She's got so much. Boaz instructs his workers, when she's gleaning the harvest, you leave lots of deliberately leave some there so that she can pack it. Because normally they're really careful when they're gleaning there, because they know whichever one drops, they can't take it. He is now instructing them that leave it deliberately. So when they are packing their gleanings, their wheat and whatever, they deliberately just drop a lot here. And obviously Ruth is coming behind, she sees a lot, she puts it. They deliberately drop, you're just deliberately just dropping it for her so that she can pack it. So she gets home, Naomi says, wow, all of this, where did you go? Who showed you such favor? Because there's so many poor people, so they all rush for it. So you are lucky if you go out cleaning, if you get enough for even that night. You just go home with a little bit, just to eat, survive, and go the next day. Once one drops, all the poor people rush. So for her to come back with so much, Naomi was wondering, who showed you such favor? And then she now tells her about what happened during the day, how this man called Boaz said this and this and told her not to go to another field. And Naomi says, yeah, he's a really nice man. He remembers the dead. He's our kinsman redeemer. So he's been so good to the dead and to the living. You do what he says. You just go to his farm. Stay there until the end of the harvest. So Ruth keeps on going there. And then it's not the end of the harvest. Then one day Naomi now says, I need to find you a home, a permanent home. I think she's now thinking that she is old. This woman is a foreign woman living in this land. If anything should happen to her, what is going to happen to Ruth? She was wondering about this. So she now needs to do something about it. So one day she tells her, there is a plan. I want you now to bath. I want you to look nice. I think by this time Ruth was probably still in her widow, you know, the mourning attire. When women are in mourning because their husbands died.
But for them, you're going to do it continuous.
Yeah, so I think she was still in that, and she wasn't doing her hair, she wasn't doing her makeup. So now Naomi now thought, okay, it's enough. You know, bath, put on perfume, put on your makeup, do your hair nicely. And in the night, Boaz is going to be at the threshing floor. Because in those days, the thieves, they normally, once the harvest is over, where they put all the wheat and stuff, the thieves can go in the night to go and steal the harvest. So, you know, if you remember Gideon was hiding, you know, so that the Philistines, because the Philistines kept on going and stealing. Once they harvest everything, the Philistines will go and take everything. So if you remember, Gideon was hiding away, and you know, so that the Philistines will not see the crop. So the landowner usually will go and sleep at the threshing floor, like he's protecting the harvest, all the hard work, so that people will not come in the night to come and steal the crop. So Naomi knew that Boaz would be at the threshing floor. So tells her, you go there and you hide. After he has eaten and he has drunk, he's full, you look at where he goes to lie down. Then in the night, when everybody has gone, you go there, uncover his feet, and lie beside him. And the Lord will show you what to do. Ruth says, okay, I will do everything you have told me. Because it was a custom in those days. It's a form of proposing to a man. When you uncover his feet, you're proposing, you're telling him that I'm available, you know, look at me. It was a culture. So she does what her mother-in-law tells her to do. So she goes, she lies down, she uncovers his feet, she lies down beside him. In the middle of the night, he's suddenly woken up. He sees somebody beside him. He asks, who are you? He said, I'm Ruth, your servant. You're my kinsman redeemer. You know, and he says, oh, may God show you favor, my daughter. In all of Bethlehem, Judah, with all these young men, even rich, poor, you didn't go for them. You came for me. So that must show us that Boaz is considerably older than Ruth. You came for me to marry you. Don't you worry. However, there is somebody who is much closer. You know the levirate marriage in Israel. When a brother dies, his brother has to marry the widow so that he can keep the brother's name alive, especially if they don't have a kid. So when the first child that brother will have with the widow is for the dead brother, not his one, so that the name can carry on. So that levirate marriage is there in Israel. So that's like Boaz being the kinsman redeemer, because the two sons died without any children. So he will be able to carry on Elimelech's name. So Elimelech's name will not just die off in Israel. So he says that, however, there is someone else who is first in line. This person has to redeem you first. If they refuse, then I'm next in line. So we ask him first. And then, you know, Ruth says, okay. He says, right, you stay here until the morning before you leave, because it's dark, it's dangerous, anything can happen to her out there. He's still thinking about her welfare. And just before the morning, before people start arriving, he gives her a lot of food, a lot of stuff. Take it to Naomi. Don't go to her empty-handed. And so he leaves. So she goes home. Naomi is eager to find out what happened. So what happened? And then Ruth tells Naomi everything. And she says, don't you worry. Before today is over, he's going to sort it all out. I know the man, he's not going to rest until it's all sorted. So in the morning, Boaz also gets up. He goes to the gate. Because usually in Israel, they do their business transactions at the gate. He goes to the gate. There's other 10 witnesses. The man he wants to see is passing by. He calls him, yeah, yo, what's your name? Come. The guy comes, he sits down, he says, yes. Now there are 12. In total. He says Naomi wants to sell her land. The land belongs to Elimelech, the husband. She wants to sell it. You are first in line to buy the land. If you don't want to redeem it, then I can buy it. So what do you say? The man said, I will buy the land. Then Boaz says, okay. However, there's a condition attached to it. For you to buy the land, you also need to marry Ruth. She is part of the deal. And then the man says, then I don't want the land. I don't want to marry Ruth. You buy the land. So as there is a custom there, a business thing, instead of signing as we do nowadays, you just take off your sandals and then you give it to the other person, and the contract is signed, is sealed, is delivered. There's witnesses. So the guy takes off his sandal and he gives it to Boaz. That means that he has released it for Boaz. And Boaz takes the sandal, he lifts it up before the witnesses. He says, you all see today, I'm going to redeem the land. I'm going to marry Ruth and keep Elimelech's name alive. And everybody says, yes, we are witnesses. And then he marries Ruth, and then they have a baby. He's called Obed. And all the women come out and they are rejoicing. They say Naomi has now got a baby. Naomi has got a baby. They call the baby Naomi's baby, because you know, by the culture thing, the baby is like for Elimelech. So it's down that line. So that Elimelech's name will not die. And as you know, Obed became the father of Jesse, and and Jesse became the father of David, and Jesus came from that line. So yeah, so when I was reading the book of Ruth, what stuck out for me wasn't about Naomi came back empty and then she got a baby and there was food. It wasn't even about Ruth's love and loyalty, but I was thinking that God works in such a way if he wants to bring about his redemption plan. So if we open our Bibles, I'm almost done now. I'm going to Micah 5. Micah chapter 5 is one of the minor prophets. Micah chapter 5. Micah is after Jonah. If anyone is there, can you read verse 2 for me, please? Micah 5:2.
Though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel, whose origins are of old, from ancient times.
Thank you. But you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel, whose origins are from of old, from ancient times. This was a prophecy by Micah, that the ruler, Jesus, will come out from Bethlehem Ephrathah. That's Bethlehem, Judah. Now, where Naomi and the husband, the family were living is Bethlehem, Judah, this exact place. And they left to Moab, but in some divine way, God had to bring them back to Bethlehem. So if the husband hadn't died, if the sons hadn't died, would they have gone back? I don't know. Would they have just settled in the land of Moab? And if God had chosen Ruth before she was even conceived to be in the lineage of Jesus, how would she have got to Bethlehem, Judah, since she's living in Moab? So I was wondering about that. I said, so in a divine way, God made it so that Ruth, whom he had chosen, had to go to Bethlehem, Judah, because you can see this prophecy. It says that's where the Messiah will come out from. And so Obed was born in Bethlehem, Judah. Jesse was born in Bethlehem, Judah. David was born in Bethlehem, Judah. Joseph and Mary were living in Nazareth. And then there was a census. Caesar said, everyone go back to your hometowns for a census. They had to leave Nazareth in Galilee and go all the way back to Bethlehem, Judah, so that Jesus can be born there. Because if he's born in Nazareth, that's not this prophecy. This prophecy that didn't fulfill. So in seeing God's divine way, he had to make it that way. Because how come is when Mary is that heavily pregnant that Caesar calls the census, and they can't stay there, they all have to go back. So she has to go back and then is born there, so that this prophecy can be fulfilled. So it was just making me wonder that sometimes we go through some things that we don't understand, we don't realize why is this happening. But because God has got that divine plan, he makes it so that you, no matter what. So if you are going through anything, even at that time, even though you may not understand it, look at the big picture, just ask God, go on your knees, ask him that, why is this happening? Is there anything you're planning? Because he doesn't do things for no reason. There has to be a reason why he's doing it. It might be even your boss is holding you at work and then you have to leave. Maybe God's planning another better position for you, and that's the only way you will leave. If that doesn't happen, you won't leave the place because you're so comfortable there. So anything we're going through, we should just thank God for it. That's what the Bible says, in all things give thanks. We just thank him, and just look forward and, the open picture. And anyway, that's the book of Ruth. This is how far God has brought me. So I thank all the viewers. I thank all of you for your support. Without you, I wouldn't have been able to do this. Here's to another 6 years. God bless you.